it's got a nightclub. Like, we talk about, the suburban grounds of rugby league. Hey, give me a nightclub in the stadium any day of the week. This is fantastic. Vegas, they certainly know how to do things. Like, wow, what an amazing part of history we've got in our great game, and what a privilege it is to be a part of it.
I love the journos, Ready, like you, when we're done here, are going to say, I know what you're going to say, we need roofs, right? Because this is unbelievable. All indoor, it's going to hold in the noise, and obviously weather's not an issue. But no. Just remember when you do that, nightclubs. That's what Jimmy Graham wants at our
Woodsy, you've been to a game here, have you not?
Yeah,
Did you go to a game here? Did you go to the nightclub afterwards?
No, I didn't go to the nightclub afterwards. Because the CEO of the Raiders side said if they win, she'll shout us out and take us down there. They got beat 3-0.
Oh, it was the worst game of the year.
Lowest scoring game in 20 years or something.
The mock. Woodsy, the mock.
We're all here acknowledging that we're on a rort. The fact that we're being paid to come to Las Vegas to call rugby league, hey?
I didn't acknowledge it.
I think it's fair. Okay. But how did you pull 2 trips? I mean, this is a disgrace, Woodsy, that you managed to come here to sell the. I mean, to bring up something? I don't mean to be negative.
Yo.
But the lovely reporter, you were down there on the field, and she calls it rugby, and you didn't even correct her. I mean, sometimes you're just too nice for your own good.
Dan, we had a big talk before when we first got in from Andrew Abdo, and what he said was there's going to be a lot of people calling it rugby. Don't worry about it. We just want them to get a foot in the market, and then once they're here, then we tell them rugby league and what our product is. So that's the only reason why I didn't correct it, because the boss said not to.
It's baby steps, Dan. And, as long as people are acknowledging it's a rugby of some form, that's a starting point. At least people are talking about it.
Well, I'll tell you what.
At some point down the track, you correct them. But not now. Not now.
We had lunch today at the Venetian as the Manly Seagulls group, and a lot of people are going, "Oh, use those rugby guys." Like, they're starting to notice, and they're actually full-on Americans. So it's sort of making a bit of a wave over here.
It feels like, honestly, magic round Las Vegas. It's got that vibe where you walk down the strip now. Since yesterday, so we got here a couple of days ago, and since yesterday, you just see the jerseys. And they're not just South Manly, Roosters, Brisbane. You're seeing jerseys of all flavours just walking up and down. I'm not sure we can say we've taken over, but I tell you what, our presence is being felt.
There's certainly plenty of Australians that have come over. Also, a lot of English have come and made the trip as well. They're famous for their supporting their boxers and UFC fighters over this side of the world. Anytime there's a fight in Las Vegas, they travel in great numbers. But I've spoken to a number of people that were like, we love our rugby league. NRL in Las Vegas. There's heaps of English that are here as well. So we're making inroads. It'd be interesting to see, I guess, do the NRL want Australians here, or do they want to capture more of the American market and bring them into the stadium?
I think they want both. I mean, that's the ideal world, right? And I did say to Andrew Abdo, I spoke to him yesterday about this whole extravaganza, and said he worried next year that the novelty will have worn off. And that's the reason they're rotating the teams, because next year the fans of the other teams will come over. So that sort of guarantees you 10,000 before you've even kicked the ball. Yeah,
well, the what do they call it now? FOMO. The FOMO back home would be incredible. I've got mates texting me all the time that are now jealous that they, it's not cheap. This is not a cheap exercise to come here, the flights, the hotel. Vegas is a damn expensive town. But they're seeing now, they saw 360 last night. They've seen the news reports on 7 and 9 and whatever. And you could see the ticking over in their mind. They're going to come here next year. They've seen what they're missing.
Well, it's probably important that the NRL fast-track the decision.
Oh, they got it.
So
they will, Jimmy.
Jimmy, they should announce it on Sunday. Yeah. They should dead set announce it on once the games are done. So next year, it's boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, so those fans have got 12 months to save up, prepare, and get over here.
They're not going to do it that quick, Dan. I spoke to Andrew about that. They've got a meeting on Sunday, the commission. They're going to have a debrief, but they're going to call for expressions of interest basically straight away. And they'll know within a month, a few weeks,
it has to be
who's
ready,
coming.
Because you've got to give people a chance to save up.
And that's what that's one of the things I've learned out of this this excursion, right? That they need to give people more time. They need to give the teams more time.
Yep.
Everyone needs more time, but they know that, and that will happen quickly.
Triple M rocking Las Vegas and Allegiant Stadium. Aaron Woods, James Graham, Brent Read. It's a great stadium, isn't it? This, listen, Woodsy, and you've been here, It's an NFL stadium. You know it's going to be special.
Oh, yeah.
But you can just feel this atmosphere, and the ticket sales are going terrific. Because it's built straight up and it's got the roof, this is going to be an incredible atmosphere.
It's so exciting, Dan. And, you know, we can see the ground at the moment. The field hasn't been brought back in yet. I think it takes about an hour to bring it in. And
well, as we speak, by the time we go off air, as we record, it's going to be rolling in.
Oh, well, so the field's just coming in. It's looking outstanding. And, mate, honestly, it's just a feel like not just in here, Dan. It's the whole week. Like, you look everywhere. I've been to Vegas 4 times, and this is probably the main time I've seen actual NRL on billboards here. It's ridiculous. If you had told me this time last year that the NRL was going to be playing the opening round of the competition here, I would have said you got rocks in your head. This is a remarkable achievement for the NRL. A lot of people said to me, like, what's a successful, you know, Vegas stint for the NRL look like? I think this is. Just getting our foot in the market, getting the game over here. You know, like we just said previously with the fans, this is really happening now. So the fans don't know what to expect yet because we haven't seen the games.
Yeah.
But after tomorrow night, I reckon the 4 teams that come next year, there'll be a lot more people coming from Australia to come over here because they're going to see how much of a success it is and just how good this.
It's already a success because we're dominating the sporting conversation back in Australia anyway.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we speak about all the competition with different sports, but look at the leg up being here has given us in terms of the media exposure that we've got in Australia. So partners want to be a part of that.
Exactly.
So it's a win already. You can look at, you know, attendance figures. You can look at viewing figures in America. The viewing figures in Australia are going to be, I believe, record-breaking.
They're expecting big things. And don't forget, the first game live exclusive on Fox. And we thank Fox. They've given us a lot of help for us even being here for the radio portion. So Fox League on KO 4K, the investment they've made is incredible. It's going to look fantastic on TV. 360 last night looked unbelievable up at Caesars, at Conrad Resorts World with the drones, and everything's got a beautiful polish about it. Did I see, Reedy, we're looking at 50,000 now?
Well, I think they've sold 40,000 tickets, Dan. So they're hopeful that they're going to roll up on game day and maybe nudge that $50,000 figure, which would be extraordinary, really. I mean, I think 40,000 is an amazing effort by the game.
How many's come over from Australia already?
I think they've around 20,000, I think.
That's not bad.
From Australia, so 15 to 20,000. So that means there's lots of locals who bought tickets as well.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what is noticeable. Even get off the plane, drive from the airport here. It's about 20 minutes. Every billboard, then they're digital billboards and they rotate, but every one of them at some point had an NRL presence on it. Then I drove around yesterday. I had a car for the day and put it deliberately on the Rock station. And I tell you what, there is a dead set copycat station here. It's a dead set Triple M Vegas situation. But every commercial break, every time they went to ads, you'd hear the Russell Crowe ad, and you would hear an American doing a voiceover for the Fan Day, which has now been and gone. So what's noticeable, Reedy? They've spent a lot of money, the NRL, but I think they've actually spent it in the right areas to get awareness. And I think what this is, it feels like this first one is not even necessarily about getting people into the ground. Obviously, that's the best case scenario. But it's just been making people aware this thing exists.
Yeah.
Well, sorry.
No, you go, Jimmy. Go.
No, I was going to say, I was sat in a sports bar today for a little bit of lunch, and the amount of sports that are in the American market is insane. I was watching, female college lacrosse. So if the NRL can, be a permanent fixture in the likes of those sports bars. We all know the attraction to gambling here in Nevada and those markets expanding across the different states now becoming legalized. Think of the thousands of sports bars that exist. There's always sport on in America. That's something they do really well with their college and their professional sports. There's always a multitude of sports all happening all day even at the same time. So the NRL can just be another sport that's on in these sports bars that there's thousands of. Yeah,
they're realistic. They just want a slice. Not a big slice.
That's it.
Just a slice of it. And if they can get rugby league on the American consciousness in some form, even if it's only 1% of the population, that's a hell of a lot of money. If you can tap into the gambling market.
Isn't it like
it's 350 million or so.
Yeah.
So, if you get 3 million people gambling on rugby league, because, there's some tragics out there like a pundit all hours of the night, and you get your commission on that. I mean, that's what it's about. It's not about, people have this airy-fairy dream of recruiting players from America. Let's be realistic. That's probably not going to happen.
Hang on, have you written any of those stories?
No, I haven't. I would have,
Some
but
of your
people beat me
colleagues
to it.
Triple M doing it from Vegas. I think we need to make this a yearly event, Woodsy.
I totally agree with you.
Thank you. Jimmy Graham and Brent Read here as well. Now, midday is when we're on air on Sunday, everyone, so normal time. Jimmy, you're part of that, the Sunday Sin Bin.
Sunday Sin Bin is back. Really looking forward to that. I've missed the crew.
Yeah.
You missed Dobbo.
Is Dobbo back?
I have. I've got.
I don't believe that.
We've only got an hour and a half, so I'm thinking of saving my grievances that have built up over the past 4 or 5 months, and for the show the following week, which is a 4-hour show.
How is Dobbo? He's had a bit of a dramatic trip.
I was about to say,
we won't go into details, but he's had a bit of a dramatic trip.
What are you implying? He was one of the?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying.
Unnamed journalists.
There were 2 LA. I read the quotes. About the 2 LA, they had very Dobbo. I think we need a forensic. Hey, listen, he's okay. Everyone's okay, so we can have fun with it.
They reckon it was one journo and the other one was just sobbing in the corner.
I know one of the journos wasn't Dobbo, but I read the quotes and I thought this has got a smell about it. Anyway, let's talk about a footy. Woodsy, how much adjusting has had to be done? I mean, we talked about the field, which is shorter, but more importantly, it's 5 metres skinnier, which is, well, it's virtually. It's almost like we've got one player too many.
It does. Like it's honestly, there's a lot of adjustment, Dan. We've had to. So probably the last 2 weeks, we've actually worked hard on it at training back in Sydney, and then when we've had the fields over in Vegas, it's quite a lot different. Like when you defend, you've got these plans and you've got your structures defensively. Like so your last middle defender normally tries to get on what we call black dot, which is the post, but now the width on your defensive line, it's like you're a little bit further if you're going to be what we normally are on a field. So, and then for a side like Manly, who we've got a lot of very fast outside backs, a lot of teams tend to say we shift quite a fair bit. It'll affect your shifting because you want to use every inch of the field, whereas we lose 5 to 6 meters in the field in America here. So it changes up our game plan just a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder as well, Woodsy. A lot has been made about the shortness in width of the field, but we're playing in a roof stadium. Now, I know in my time as a player, played at Cardiff, Millennium Stadium, when the roof would be closed.
Yep.
Now, that affects the footwear.
It does. It becomes a little dewier.
It becomes very dewy. I wonder if that will be an issue. So I'm just thinking from a coaching perspective, you'd be saying, look, pack your metal studs, lads. I don't want to see any players slip. There's nothing that annoys a coach like a player not coming over in the correct footwear, but also you think about if the shift is going to be hard, then what you do as a coach, I think, would be to bring players underneath because it's round one.
Exactly.
And we've got fatigue in the legs, fatigue in the lungs as well. That's something that you're going to look to exploit. Instead of trying to strip them for numbers on the edge, bring those quicker players underneath and attack some tired middle defenders.
Yeah, definitely. And the one biggest thing about probably rounds 1 to 5 is possession and where you turn it over. There's a lot of loose ball, but it's a bit different, as you said, with the dew. And, we've got some really good finishers in our side, our wingers. They're both outstanding finishers, but their starting positions change as well because you can't – if they're hanging right on the paint, they get tackled, they slide straight over. They need to sort of – it's hard. We sort of say, like, you do want to swing the gate a little bit, as we call it. So when you're shutting the gate, you all go on the same page. So you're not starting outside really wide. So they don't get dragged out of silence straight away. So there are all these little things, but – time will tell. It's going to be different. It's one of those ones where no one's played here. So no one's played in this width of a field.
I feel for the refs. Ashley Klein gets the first ones. He's got a lot of responsibility, Reedy, and Adam G. Proven refs, particularly G, had a wonderful grand final. I've spoken to a couple of coaches, privately, and they're under the impression, sort of nudge, nudge, wink, wink, the 10 is going to be 12.
Yeah. And we ran this by Graham Annesley, and he said that will not be happening.
Yeah, but he's got to say that publicly.
I know, but I think that rumour's been everywhere, right? I mean, all the coaches have heard it. I don't think anyone had an official word in their ear and said, get ready for this, but they all think that's what's going to happen just to keep sides apart.
We've been preparing for that, Reedy.
Well, the last thing we need is a dour game, Jimmy. That doesn't entertain the fans. They want to entertain. They want points. They want action. So keep the sides further apart. It helps compensate for the lack of width on the field.
Well, so it's only a 95-metre field, right? Yeah. And if you've got 12 metres, Jimmy, you're going to get teams on the attack much sooner. That's the theory.
It's shorter as well.
That's the point.
So the 40-20s will become easier as well. So
yes.
the kicking game becomes ever more important.
Yeah,
goals are short, but the attack, the short kick in behind the line to go for a try or get a repeat set, it's not as valuable as it once was.
No.
So I don't think that will be an issue. I think we'll see that trend go out the game for teams putting in short kicks and quote unquote building pressure, because the short dropout now it almost
it's a 50-50, and teams are getting more success from the short dropout. But do you reckon, coming over here, we got the American fans that love the collisions. Do you reckon the refs will sort of take the pee a bit out of the whistle, boys?
I hope so.
I think we all hope so, right?
And that's what Adam G did so well in the grand final. You wouldn't even know he was there reffing the game. That's how good he was.
All right, a little bit later, we're going to talk about the games themselves and come up with some predictions, but we're going to talk a bit more about this experience. It's an incredible experience. Don't forget, you can watch both games live on Fox League. You can listen to both games. Yes, both games have loosened the rights, the NRL, so we've got both games everywhere. South and Manly and Roosters and Brisbane are right across the Triple M network, including Listener. More after this. Just about done here in Las Vegas for today, but we're on. You've got all the podcasts on. Geez, you're all over the Listener podcast, Woodsy. You are the Listener darling.
I'm not as bad as Wade Graham at the moment.
Oh, is he dominating?
Because I've had to be with Manly, he's taken a lot of my gigs. I'm filthy.
Hey, welcome to our world. Grass cutting is mandatory, my friend.
Woodsy will still invoice, though.
I don't use
You're
that.
from the Maroons. You're from the Maroons school.
Don't use that.
You got Reedy, you've got Jimmy Graham. All right, let's talk about these games quickly. South and Manly, Jimmy. A lot of expectations on Manly. Luke Brooks, we're hearing, might be under a bit of an injury cloud, but probably will be there. Yeah, thumbs up from there, from Woodsy. This is actually a fascinating game. We've been caught up in the event. This is a really interesting game. South crashing out last year. Manly have had a couple of lean years. A lot of pressure on these clubs. Well,
they're two blockbuster games, Dan. Forget we're here in Vegas. These are two games that fans should be really excited about anyway. I think, you look at Manly, the addition of Luke Brooks, I think he will, really work well with Cherry Evans. I think we'll see a much better, more consistent Luke Brooks. Really, Manly's season, you boil it down to one thing, and it's the fitness of number one, Tommy Trbojevic. And if he can get back to that form that he showed in and around the COVID years, the Origin year when him and Tedesco were two-pronged attacking, but basically played with two fullbacks. If he can replicate that form, he is so influential. When you talk about betting markets and you see when a player's in versus a player out, he would be worth so much to Manly's chances from a betting point of view. And everybody knows, we see what he brings, and he's almost got that aura now about him and the effect on his teammates where they see him and go, we believe we can win. But when he's not there, sometimes even your most experienced players like Cherry Evans would be looking at, it's going to be tough today.
Yeah.
It is exciting when you walk into that dressing shed and you see Tommy with the number one in the back and he's wearing that jersey. It's like, wow, we've got a genuine superstar there, mate. He's honestly, I know, Dan, you hate these old sayings. He's had a great preseason. He's been outstanding.
Thrown the house down.
Honestly,
you know who else has thrown the house down? Latrell Mitchell.
I've heard.
And I think we read a little bit too much into Latrell's happiness, but he looks
really
damn happy right now.
He was bouncing.
Wasn't he? Effervescent.
Of course he would be, boys. He's in Vegas.
But when he's effervescent, I don't know what's going on in his private life, that's not our business, but he looks fitter, he looks happy, and it's a big year for him too. Cody Walker's not getting younger, and he's got that Cliff Lyons touch about him, but for South, it's going to have to happen quickly.
The thing that worries me about South in this game is they're outside backs. They're missing Campbell Graham, Jack White, and you look at their centres.
Well, Kenner is one.
Kenner and
Isaiah Tass. But you got Jacob Gagai making his debut.
His debut at the age of 28. This field will help them, right? It's harder to exploit them on this field, but Tommy makes the right call 9.9 times out of 10. And if he gets a chance to exploit those guys, he will get them.
And Tommy's very good at playing through as well, really. He's not one that goes around. He likes to get the ball in his hand and carry the ball. So that's something that's different. A lot of fullbacks, they like the Reece Walsh has got that really good cutout pass, that he can finesse his way, whereas Tom plays nice and direct. If he sees something, we'll have a game plan, a structure, but if he sees something, he just backs himself and goes. And that's what is going to be really exciting about it.
Well, if I'm a South fan, that's what really scares me. That Tommy could cut loose, and those young outside backs, inexperienced outside backs, won't be able to handle it.
Can we expect round one? often handling mistakes. Hopefully the roof takes care of that and the handling's good. But match fitness, their match fitness is non-existent. I mean, we've had some players have played half an hour so therefore if the match fitness has dropped off, fatigue really might open this thing up in the second half.
Well, Dan, I think probably 3/4 of our squad haven't played.
Yeah.
You played that scrimmage against St George,
We had a
didn't you?
scrimmage against St George. We had 2 trials, but Siebes that was probably the only time we had our full-strength squad was against the Dragons in the scrimmage.
Yeah.
And you were there, Reedy. It wasn't a proper game.
It was about 70%, maybe?
You didn't have those pre-match nerves. You know, there was nothing on the line. You come in here, it's round 1. There's competition points.
Well, in the first quarter of that scrimmage, they had Zach Lomax on the wing, right,
Yes.
memory, and Tommy just carved them apart.
Yeah.
It was 20 minutes, and Tommy set up 2 tries, and I thought, this bloke's looking good.
Well, as well, when match fitness comes into play, professionalism comes into play as well, because some of these players have been away for a long time. You know, you're in the hotel, you've got camp food available. Here in Vegas, plenty of distractions. Then also, so you've got that to factor in. How professional can you be in the build-up? Some of these teams have been away for 10 days now. How professional are you going to be? But then also, it's that emotional energy that comes with this. You can feel the sense of occasion here. Like, how much are the players going to manage that? Not only not being out there physically for a long time, or not long time frames in terms of the build-up to round 1, but the huge emotional weight of like, hey, the world's watching me here.
You know another thing, Jimmy? When I come over here previously in December and I come back, I said to Siebes, are you sure you want to be here for the whole 2 weeks? You know, I was thinking, it's bright lights of Vegas. Anything could happen. You're not sure. The other boys have been in LA. They've been nice and quiet. I reckon it's not a bad ploy that Siebes did, because what we did, we got all the walking. There's so much to see. You want to be on your feet. Mate, we were walking nearly 10 Ks a day, because you don't realise how far the casinos actually are from each other. Souths, Roosters and Broncos all got in yesterday and today. So they're just seeing these sites, and I've seen all the boys go out. So little things like that, that's just not their normal preparation they'd have in Sydney or Brisbane. So do those little things wear them down?
It's and interesting too. It is only a round 1 match, so it's probably one you can afford to let the players off the leash. Not to be stupid, Woodsy, but it is an experience.
It is a great experience, like you said. But the other thing is, it's 2 points, 2 competition points.
I'm not devaluing it, but I'm saying this is not a grand final where you have to have everything absolutely perfect. I mean, drink this. Manly's not coming in next year, and the other club.
They want to, Dan. Manly want to come back.
I'll tell you who the broadcasters want to come back, and that's Brisbane, because their rating's gold, and there's more Brisbane fans here than anywhere. Their game against the Roosters. Also fascinating. Roosters need a big 2024. They do. And Jimmy, the Broncos, there's questions there. Not just the heartbreak of recovering from a grand final, but no Flegler, no Farnworth. It's still a red-hot squad, but not quite what it was last year in terms of names.
Yeah, I guess for the Broncos, it's a really interesting predicament, and how their mindset is, because they had it. They didn't just. It's one of those. How you describe it, they won the grand final. It was over. It was done.
In 60
but they
minutes.
lost. And how much is that? Where's the headspace of the Brisbane Broncos squad right now? Is it, boys, we proved we did it. We did. We proved what we can do. We proved we can beat Penrith.
They didn't, but.
Well, and how bad did they play? In the first 40 minutes, it was awful.
It should have been over at half-time.
It was awful, and they found a way to get 8-6 at half-time. They were clinging on, and then they run away with it, and they'd won the game. It was over, and they can't play as bad, and they still... And so where's the mindset? Is it, boys, look what we can do. If we just switch on a little bit, look after our ball control, yeah, we've got some new players coming in, but we're going to be sweet. Or is it, we could have had a ring. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, didn't. It's really interesting to see how the Brisbane Broncos bounce back, because it's a huge emotional toll. It's almost, I'm not joking when I say this, it's almost like you need professional help. You'd be mourning this.
The other thing is, Jimmy, they went from that, and they also got beat quite heavily, a lot of the Broncos players in the Australian game too, by New Zealand. Does that hang over as well?
I don't know if that factors into it, but I just think for the Broncos players, what they had, what they lost, it could affect them mentally hugely going into this season.
All right, give us a tip for that. You can't give us a tip on the first one, Woodsy.
Brisbane, second game.
Rooster squad looks pretty good, but obviously we're talking about the grand final.
I just think,
finalists,
like Jimmy said, I think Brisbane will be hurting, and I think they'll want to start the season off on a high.
Oh, that Roosters team does look good.
It looked good last year too.
And that's where people are a bit sceptical.
They've got a lot to prove.
Len you up front. Obviously, no
Hargreaves.
Hargreaves. No Angus Crichton. He's on the way out, isn't he?
Yeah, he won't be there next year.
Yeah.
He'll be in rugby union somewhere, probably in Europe.
All right. Brisbane for you?
Brisbane for me.
Well, you never tip against them anyway.
No, I don't.
What about you, Jimmy?
I want to go Roosters.
Okay. All we want, 2 crackerjack games.
Yes.
End to end and close, and we're happy. And we're going to have what looks like 40 to 50,000, maybe even a few more, as we are about to say farewell. Listener, the app, make sure you're part of that to listen to the live calls there and get all the podcasts that have pumped through with Wade Graham and Woodsy part of that. And we'll be on air live 12 o'clock New South Wales time, 11 a.m. Queensland. How good's that? Sunday morning football. The games will start 90 minutes after that. Triple M rocking the NRL in Las Vegas.